Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 398. I am your host, Loren. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, wow, how much things change. Springtime, and hello, everyone, to springtime. This will be our last show here at the office for a while. We're actually traveling, and the next show will be from the Netherlands. So we will have some wonderful backdrop for you in that sense, rather than the yet to be completely replaced backdrop of our office sun's hurricane. So anyway, with that topic discussion today, it's turned into a mainstay of conversations pretty regularly with all of our clients. And then we have a lot of people that are new to us that are asking more and more of the same question. We used to do a tremendous amount of these, but now we've had enough business variations that they've come true. What am I talking about? I'm talking about audits. Now, you may be more familiar with the traditional kind, accounting audits, where they go in and they ensure that everything's being processed and handled correctly and legitimately, and that things are in the proper accounts and so forth and so on. This has a semblance of it, obviously, under the definition of audit. But our topic today is the strategic value of a marketing audit. Now, marketing audits are unique compared to accounting audits because it's about your presence in market, what you are doing. Um, we look at it strategically in three variations. There's the how am I doing? How is my market doing? And how am I doing in my market? And the variations, tiered as they may be, is how am I doing is based on your business's performance, how well your website is built. We'll go through some of the details in just a moment. How well is my marketing running? How well is my agency operating? How well is my technology running? Those are very I statements. They're very inclusively internally viewing what you're doing. It breaks down all the value propositions that are important on those basic categories. We'll again get into some detail about that. Um, but the second level of it is how is my market doing? And that is more of a expansion from you in the market to your competitors in market, your destination market, or the business coming to your market. Where is it coming from? How are you in comparison to your competitors in that market? And how you're performing in relationship to what you should be performing for versus what your competition is performing for. And keeping in mind, your competition isn't always within your market. Sometimes your competition are other symbiotic markets. And then the third category of audits that are good to do, and that is how am I doing in my market? And that is an expansion from the first to second to third, where now you're taking everything that you're doing for yourself, everything your competition is doing for themselves, everything your market is doing for it, and bringing that to the component of integration of comparative analysis of you in comparison to your competitive set, your market in comparison to your performance and value proposition in market, your total ability to utilize your market. It's an omni view of everything in relationship to you, your competitors in your market, and how all of you are mixed together. The nuance between the number two and number three is a lot larger than it sounds, because just competitive analysis is like a SWOT analysis. You're looking at the pros and cons of your competitive set as it relates to the same metrics that you've applied to yourself. Efficiency of their website, their presence of their placement of what they're targeting best for, what they're targeting weak list for. How are they in market segmentation to you or to the others in your market, I should say. It's a breakdown of that. The over omni view of everything is how does everybody mix and match? How are you in performance to each other? And that makes a distinctive difference as to that omnipresent view. First off, though, I want to talk about the stigma of audits. We're faced with always when we get requests of audits, more often than not, it is because there is a doubt as to the performance of something that they are doing or should be doing, or how their agency is performing, and they want a third-party critical eye. That's always a good thing to route out what may be of concern or dispel that the concern is not founded. Here's where we go wrong. We've mentioned this in shows before, is auditing is often used as a marketing tool from agencies. Miraculously, most agencies, we'll do an audit for you. But everything that comes out of the result of the audit is based on how good they are and how bad the current vendor is and why they should be chosen over the current vendor. That's a biased marketing pitch. It's a long draw marketing pitch. Unbiased audits, what we do, uh, is incredibly valuable for a truly um, outside opinion of how everything looks without the taintedness of offering services that are unique from the people that are doing the audit and not offering you services that they don't do. Criticism of your vendors without also applauding your vendors as to what they're doing right. An unbiased audit is to say, this is the good, this is the bad, this is the things that you should consider, these are the things we think you should be working on, so forth and so on. Oftentimes, when we do audits, we get quickly asked, like, oh, can you guys fix this? And it's yes, but we're going to conclude the audit. Unless there's a blatant problem of crisis that's putting them in a high exposure value that we immediately recommend them they need to do something like this for this right now. Um, oftentimes we ask them for us to finish the audit. And if they're looking to replace their current services and they're looking to us as an option, we don't participate in that until after the audit is done. And we ask them to put on SOP so that there's an unbiased comparison between us and anybody else that can give them a proper service profile. And also for us to be truthful and say, well, some of the things you need fixed, we don't do, which is really rare since we do just about everything. But, anyways, I digress. Audits, unbiased audits, are a critical component of that perception. So, again, most of the initial interest in audits is a suspicion of performance. The next highest category of audits is just the need to make decisions. How are we performing? There's nothing that's we're suspiciously bad about, but are we looking enough out there to see anything different? Is there other services that might be better? Is there things that we should consider? How are we performing that we're not believing our own stink, so to speak? That we're looking at the value proposition of what we're doing as being the optimum of what we need compared to just this is all we're aware of. So it's a self fulfilling circle. What we do is what we receive. So therefore, we must be doing good because we're happy with what we're getting, realizing that we might be missing the whole higher value that we're not getting into. That's the second often requested audits is the to make sure that the vendor selection is still the best, that the performances are still the most that can be done, and any outside improvement perspectives that can be shared that their current internal vendors or internal teams can actually be augmented with. Um, that's the second most. The third is an honest evaluation of tech stack replacement or rebuilding. There is a quantified need of asset acquisition, asset asset analysis. We've been often asked into acquisitions where we're being asked to audit the market value and strategies of potential revenue growth for a business should it be bought by a company that's solicited us to take it over or to do the audit. And what the value potential of doing more or better than what has been done from our audit so that they have a value proposition of what they can make as a positive impact on their incomes. So a lot of asset evaluation, asset analysis, and a desire to say, well, we need to fix our tech stack. We need to look at better tech stacks. We need to look at better ways of using our tech stack. Do we have all the internal resources that we need? Do we have the third-party resources that we need? Are we doing everything that our resources everything that we need to do, and is our resources sufficient for those? That's more of the pure value proposition of an audit, is that self-evaluation, that kind of check mark. Now, we've gone on the show many times and talked about realignments of forecasts, realignments of budgets, realignments of marketing perspectives, that persistent need to go back and reanalyze what you have projected to make sure that you're still in the direction that you thought you were going on, and make that a dynamic budget work, make that flexible forecast work, make that marketing, that flexible marketing utilized. And audits help a lot with that because it gives an evaluation as to what your performance is doing without the biasness of, oh man, our performance isn't doing that well, but I'm the one that sold the performance package. So I'm not going to raise a hand since nobody's complaining. That's what audits are good at finding out is, well, they could be better. It's not that it's bad, but it can be better. Audits have a lot to do with that. So that's the premise of audits. Let's talk a little bit about audits in the sense of structure. What's in a marketing audit? It's broken down into the same categories you do with your online marketing. You have SEO, search engine optimization. You have SEM, search engine marketing. You have your typical paid and organic. You have your CRM, customer relationship management. You have your technology, which is not affectionately called, but referred to as tech stack. Um, then you have your overall mission statement roadmap program, which includes your budgets, includes your forecasts, includes your media plan, your market plan, and so forth. Then you have things like agency evaluation, which is looking at your resources, your bandwidth, how and what they do, and so forth and so on. Those are the basic components associated with an audit. Tailorable as to what's the focal point or interest, like we just purposes or the instigation of an audit might bring a more focused perspective that they have concern of their content development for SEO or their website structure in SEO or their marketing diversification in ad campaigns or platform usage in SEM or their diversification of social content and storyboard in social, or their paid social being targeted correctly by the right demographics, or is their email campaigns functioning correctly in their workflows or funnels? Is their tech stack not collaborating on certain levels, so it's creating data issues? Um, the thing about tech stacks that it isn't in this list, but one of the predominant ones that have come into the forefront of so many things now is analytics and data. That's been a big, huge catalyst. And I wouldn't say a new addition to this because it was originally part of an SEO aspect. Are your analytics configurations correct? Are you gathering the right data? Are you using the data that you're gathering? Are the reporting processes correct? But it really has branched out onto its own. That analytics and reporting is now, and data gathering, collection, and storage and compliance. Are you compliant for privacy concerns and so forth? They've all come in to do separate components now. Compliance, ADA compliance, privacy content and data compliance, which crosses over dotted line to your analytics and data acquisition. Who has access to it? What's it being used for? Where it's been collected from? Those things are a part of an auditing process as well. And included with that, which we are persistently finding, is access to data. But that whole process of, okay, so who has access to the data? And you tend to find that there's a huge list of people that are either no longer working with the company and or third-party vendors are no longer connected to the company, but they still have data access. They're still pulling data from it. Some of the worst ones are those 30-day trial ones from like Triptease and so forth that they don't get shut off and they're still collecting massive amounts of data. The hotel directory, the ones that just keep pumping data from your site, and it's a security issue for your data collection. They're gathering data depending upon how much you agree to putting their tracking on your sites and in your booking funnel, and they're pulling all that data. So those audits reveal all that and quickly help clean that up and shut that down. So there's components of what those things are, but those are your basic components associated with an audit. Um, the things about an audit, the strategic value of an audit, from the purest sense, which is you feel like you're doing well, but you want to make sure you're doing everything that you uh, can do for yourself. You feel good about your third party, but you want to know if there's an expansion of requests to third party. The good third parties are like genies in a bottle. If you ask the right question, they can produce a tremendous amount of excellent content, excellent performances, excellent metrics, excellent everything. But you have to ask the right question. A lot of times, third-party vendors aren't there to hard sell you or push sell you into things that are only from their perspective. If they're a good vendor, moderate vendors will always try to sell you their service profile. If you already haven't bought the package related to whatever it is that they're trying to sell you, they're trying to sell you on it. Especially if they expand their services, then they're trying to sell you those additional services. Oh, now we do such and such, or now we do such and such. And they're not really necessarily the most valuable thing that you need to consider. That's where an audit helps, because an audit can determine whether or not that's actually viable for you. One of the ones we didn't mention in that short list of audit segmentations is channel segmentation, channel metrics, marketing metrics. We didn't talk anything about comp sets or anything like this, but the idea of which channels are you in? What's the production value of those channels? How is your meta search in comparison to your paid campaigns? Which channel of the meta search is your predominant production? How well are you doing on your consumer sentiment sites? Is that a feeder for you, or is it a detriment to you based on your ranking of you're in the top 25 or not 25? What is your meta search doing when it comes to your device usages? What's the crossover? What is your attribution strength, data from your new GA4 accounts telling you? What are your contribution factors for the acquisition of conversions? These auditing processes that can either reaffirm what you're already aware of with your current internal resources or third party, or it could be eye opening as to what you didn't realize you're not looking at correctly. And that's the real value, the real strategic value of a marketing audit is it makes you look at the opportunities that you may not have been looking at before because you're now aware of them. The trap door to this is getting an audit from a group of people or a service like ours that is unbiasedly giving you the good and the bad, so that you have the unbiased perspective of understanding the data. And a good audit follows a good explanation. Just handing a pile of reports over to somebody and say, here you go. Here's what you asked for. Here's your whole audit. Good luck figuring it all out. We can tell you some insights, but we should. That's a part of the audit process is explaining what this means. You can look at a number and then turn it sideways and look it back over again. And you may not understand the interpretation value. A lot of metrics, especially spaghetti metrics, pie metrics, and so forth, you think up is good, green is good. It's not. Sometimes higher traffic, lower conversions is a despairingly different thing. But you say, oh, we got higher traffic. Yeah, but you're not the value of that traffic is not coming through. Those explanations are warranted in an audit. The audit is to explain your channel segmentation is this, this, and this. You probably are about 5 or 10% higher in, say, OTA contribution than you would like to be because at a cost margin of your contract, which would be part of the disclosure discovery of what an audit service like ours does, is okay, what is your commission model with OTAs? Oh, we're at 18%, we're at 20%. Okay. So that 10% of your total market share, okay, whether it's aggregated over a 12-month period, quarterly period, monthly period, whatever, represents this much money that you're spending. That money, should you get even just for every percentage shift in that channel from OTAs to, say, your own meta search program, has a value proposition of this because you're not only saving the commission, but now you're getting the direct communication there. So now that feeds your CRM model that you're not getting value from because it's going to the OTA. So your customer lifetime value just isn't the acquisition of direct channel shift over from your OTA to your own meta search program, which is direct connect for you, direct conversion, but rather also now they're in your CRM database and they go into your funnel flow. So you have consumer lifetime value of that person, and you have referral value, expansion of audience of them associated with anybody else that they give warranted to. Now that puts them into your consumer sentiment program, your retargeting program. So there's a dollar value that goes along with that an audit represents, saying, well, look, if you can get this channel shift here or there. Now, the other is that maybe you have a high volume of social, but it's not really driving towards your other channels. Like you have a great engagement with social, but you're not seeing that traffic go to other channels for conversion, and you're certainly not seeing the conversion on social. So what are you doing? Well, perhaps you're being too generous sharing unconvertible content. We're going to tell you everything about this event, but we're never going to mention the fact that we actually have an offer for our hotel for this event. Well, you don't close the deal. Okay. These things audits show by saying, here's your volume of traffic. But if you see your traffic going up, but your conversions aren't really going up with it. Okay. And it's different if they maintain, like, all right, so traffic goes up and your conversions stay the same. You're getting value for the traffic. But if you see actually conversions going down and your traffic going up, then that means that you're talking to a lot of people, but they're not seeing you as the converting source for them. They're finding something better. And that's where an audit also comes in, because then you're saying, where did they go? What competitor got them? How did you feed them to want to come to the event, but they didn't stay with you because they didn't find with what it is that they wanted? Is that a demographic problem that you were promoting the fact that there was an event nearby you, but your inventory isn't conducive for them? If you're a hipster hotel, you can't just flip the gears and become a family hotel because of a family event. You might be marketing the wrong events. That's what a marketing audit helps you do, is say, hey, look, you're chasing down anything that's outside your door, but you don't need just anything outside your door. You want the people outside your door that want your product. If you're a family hotel, it's hard for you to be that Trend City urban-esque hotel that people want to go into when you got a food trough for breakfast. The trendy people that are coming to the market don't want to be potentially part of that, or they don't want to be dealing with common spaces. They're trying to be on conference calls or meetings, and there's kids running around playing Cowboys and Indians or something. These things, okay, are variances as to whether you're targeting correctly, whether you should let some business walk by your door because it's not your business. And instead be better at targeting the business that is. That's where a marketing audit comes in. It helps you define and put a sharper point, a clearer picture to what it is that you should be pursuing based on your historical portfolio of information, your historical data, your guest folios, your feeder markets, your business cycle that you have. Spring break is busy or not busy for you. Summer is busy or not busy for you. Winter is busy or not busy for you. If you're a ski resort versus a mountain lodge, you have non-ski season and winter season, or non-winter season. Bicycles go down the hill or skiers go down the hill kind of thing. And if you're a beach location, summertime's a little, it's fun. But some people try to go and say, well, they want something a little bit more pleasant in climate, perhaps, and they go up north rather than south. That's not always the case because it depends on your demographics, the geography of what the feeder market's from. All this comes out of an audit. An audit is constantly a self-evaluation to make sure that you're going in the right direction, in the right way, with the right tools, for the right reason. That's what an audit's for. When you try to change an audit to being a witch hunt, a cleaver to validate like somebody, it certainly can be used for that. But it doesn't need an audit to do that. That's bullets to a gun. That if you really feel that you have to expose somebody, we've done opaque audits, which are basically they don't know we're looking at what they're doing. It's not as accurate because you're not inside the data, but there's a lot of things that can be garnished from an outside perspective that can be very much perspective driven of like they're not taking advantage of their comp set, they're not taking advantage of their market business cycle, they're not taking advantage of their rate parity issues. On and on and on. There is a lot of telltale things that can come from an audit. So keeping in mind that audits are a useful tool for discovering what it is you need to look at, it helps understand better your perspective of where you are. And again, we approach it from three aspects. There's how am I doing? How are the people around my businesses around me doing? My competitors doing? And how is my market doing? And how am I related to both of those? So you have the self-evaluation. How's my website? What's my structure? Is my H1 ref tags going well? Is my anchor text correct? Do I have a lot of 404s, 301s? If none of this makes sense to you, that's why you need an audit, okay? Or at least have a team member that knows what this stuff is. Is my content diverse enough? Do I have a proper wireframe to my website? Do I have a zero gateway entry, multi-tier, entrance into my website where it's a vertical multi-entrance so that my deep link pages are entrance points? Do I have my right call to actions in these locations? Then from a analytics and tracking perspective, am I properly looking at the metrics associated with my traffic? Am I looking to make sure that my data is being collected correctly? Am I looking at the reports that are generating the traffic for me to understand what's going on with my website? Then from there also, am I garnering the right data from my interactions with my website and my campaigns and everything else? Am I creating custom audiences to use for retargeting? Am I using it properly for channel distribution like meta search or paid ad campaigns in Google or Bing? Is there somebody infringing on my trademark? Honestly, is those things available and are they being done? These are all aspects of audits. When it comes to your marketing presence and so forth, is your messaging correct? Is your content correct? Have content landing pages that support your ad campaigns? Or do you just simply have ad campaigns that are running, but they go to nowhere but your booking engine? So everything about the ad is your total conversion value description. Like the ad has to contain all the data for them to just go to the book link and there's no more data. They just decide they're going to buy whatever the ad said. That's a terrible link. That's a point out to an audit going, hey guys, make an ad, which is you want to know more, and bring them to a place that actually tells them more. Don't drive them to the main gateway of your website where they have to rediscover what it is you brought them there for. This is what auditing points out. Is this isn't going where you think it should. This is where it should go with this type of content. That's what an audit does. You can see if your competitors are having the same problems and issues. You can see what's the frequency of your competitors posting on social organically. What's their engagement? What kind of things do they post? Do they do images? Do they videos? Do they do more on TikTok versus Instagram versus what Facebook versus what Twitter? Where is their channel of preference and where are they getting the best audience engagement from? Are they dealing and working with any influencing organizations and groups where they have a great trend of people interested in them? Are they affiliated with businesses within your market? Are they playing the community card and showing up more for what they do versus you showing up for what you do? What are they poaching from you? How are they showing up in comparison to what you should show up best for? What are they not showing up for that you think you can exploit from them? Kind of a SWOT analysis again. This is what auditing helps with when it comes to the deterministic way that you understand what it is that you are doing in market, what your competitors are doing in market, and then overall how everybody and the market is doing in comparison to every other option that is out there for it. So that is our topic today. That was asking, talking about something totally different. This is the strategic value of a marketing audit. So, keeping this to a bit of a context of news today, I wanted to talk about something that was a little interesting that I came across in eHotelier, which was how personalization contributes to increased revenue and profits. Next week's show is going to be about consumer lifetime value, CLV. It's funny how the term has lost meaning or has even lost calculation. Marriott a few years ago really put a dagger in the heart of consumer lifetime value by trying to metric it out to being on a 4-year life cycle for most people. That based on how they want to calculate things, if somebody hasn't come back to Marriott within I think it was 18 months, then they're reset. No, excuse me, 12 months. Then it was reset as a new guest, even though they had been a previous guest before. They really shortchanged it, and that if anybody did recur business, that after 4 years, they were to be reset back as a new guest again because preferences or profiles changes to the demand of travel, even though everything they're doing might be the same. So the calculation method of customer lifetime value, which doesn't get used as much as it used to. You used to look at a guest that came into your hotel, saw what they bought, saw how long they stayed and whether they had a frequency to them coming back. And then you determined if that be the case, how long would they want to be with us if we kept doing the things that they wanted us to do for them, what that frequency meant and what their overall value meant. And then you had to calculate in things like cancellations, churn, as they like to call it. And that had a factor to it. And again, we're going to also include next week's conversation talking about how do you calculate churn or cancellations in percentages for your channels, because it's one thing to say that you had all this bookings, but we all know that all channels have cancellations, especially as people become more and more fluent in the multi-booking universe where they book in several different places for them to be given options depending upon what it is they eventually decide on, or whether we as revenue managers blink and change our rates at think there's not much there, and we quickly get reassigned and rebook and do all this other stuff. So that's all next week's conversation. From the Netherlands, we'll do that. But anyway, the news article I wanted to talk about today is the how personalization contributes to increased revenue and profits. The idea of this is we are under this false premise, and I've said this many times, that we're already collecting all the data we need. We're collecting a lot of data, but we're not necessarily collecting all the data we need. A lot of vendors out there are like, oh, well, we'll come in and we'll look at all your data and we'll give you some insights to it. A lot of times, it wasn't ever set up to be tracked correctly anyway. Very few places actually track the data correctly with events and goals. Now that we're going into data dimensions with GA4, and being that it's in transition period, if you haven't been already doing it for the past 12 months, you don't even have a year-over-year data. So you have no comparative analysis on what you're looking at from just even last year, let alone the year before, we had so many, between lockdown and pre-COVID, post-COVID, tsunami, summer, all the rest of it. There's so many variables you have to do weighted mean average anyway to make sure the numbers don't get skewed. So that idea that you have the data that you need already, not completely true. Not saying that there's not data that's not getting utilized correctly. Just it's not a omnipotent value unless you already have GA4, which everything does mean is being tracked. You just need to ask the right questions of what information you want to have comparisons. Also, too, when it comes to personalization, we have now a greater opportunity to understand better the reasons for travel. With the crucible that came from COVID's lockdown, is we were able to pause long enough to see how business was returning. We're talking about corporate business travelers, Smurf business, leisure travel, international travel, domestic multi-regional travel, group travel, non-Smurf, corporate group, consortia, wholesales. We've seen them begin to burgeon back in. And so we begin to see their source impact as to what was the catalyst for the move. Some of it was tepid, some of it was exploratory, some of it was like, thank God we get back to before. So all of it has this different measure. But now we have a better chance to have seen the restart. So we can see some of the reasons people are traveling a little bit more on an isolated basis. We saw corp travel grow, and we saw how it grew and continues to grow back to what it was before, although it's still short. I still think it's short of where it is by far. Still think it's going to be permanently 10 to 15 less for a while. But anyway, also too, we've got to notice booking behavior. How did they book? Like I just mentioned, multi-book. We're going to book several places because we're not quite certain which one we would prefer mostly. And given that sometimes things happen where you get walked or booked or overbooked or whatever like this, perks and benefits and points and whether or not you can get things leveraged and so forth, a lot of people will do multi-books and they'll just purge out the ones that they end up not taking, and which cause cancellations, which cause problems and holes and things like this. So you have to know the purpose of why they're booking in addition to their behavior to know how to secure them, how to keep the CRM collaboration with them consistent so that they feel more connected to you than maybe going to one of your competitors or whatever. So those are key components to getting the personalization correct. Um, Identifying that, as much as we love to say markets of one, it's spooky when you talk about a person's individual preferences in such a way that it resonates with them, going, wow, this is really weird. Where they get that data from? And now there's apprehension and doubt in the relationship with you. But keeping it micro segmented, where it's like you're not talking to them individually, but you're talking about things that are very individually interesting. Like, wow, that's really cool that they have that, and not feel creepy that we would have known that about offering that to you. That micro segmentation is incredibly important. Um, and also, too, I think when it comes to revenue yield, it's so funny, or not funny, it's sad actually. Companies saying, well, the cost of everything's gone up. And that's why their prices had to go up. And the reason why their prices go up is, yes, product costs did go up, but rather than marginalize their net profit to maintain the net profit that they want, they raise their prices. A lot of companies can absorb fluctuations in costs. The unfortunate thing of it is, it's a great excuse to make changes that they can blame on something else. No company wants to say, well, we want to keep our profits increasing, so we're raising our prices. That makes them look like a bad person. Now you're like, well, I'm just not there to fill your product, but I'm not here to go over and pay more money when there's somebody else that you're competing with that I can settle for. But if it's look, everything's going up in costs, I mean, we're being hit with this too. We saw that in the meat industry and so forth, where they were marginally. We see that persistently in the petroleum industry as well, that they maintain their record profits by raising rates. They probably could have gone over and absorbed a lot of that cost that was going on, but that meant less profit. And so those people that own stock in those companies and the people that operate them, they don't want that to happen. So they're good outside, like, hey, we're here to be supportive. We're so sorry the prices are going up because cost is going up. That's why we have to raise our prices. When it's like, yeah, you're not really that sorry. Hotels do it too. Oh, we have to raise our prices. We blatantly just raised prices when we had tsunami demand last summer and summer before and so forth, where it was just exploitive. And it really killed our customer relationship, so forth. So this is the personalization thing. Sorry, I was off on a bit of a tangent thinking about the ups and downs and pros and cons of how we handled our consumer relationships back then. That state of affairs. So with that, I thank you for the privilege of your time today. And letting me go on about auditing. If you'd like to know more about auditing, you reach me at Loren at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. I will give some examples of auditing outframes in the show notes for the show. So if you want to go see some of the frames we talk about, the SEO, SEM, so forth, some categorizations that are auditing based, you're certainly able to go see that. Give you kind of stick in the sand as to things you should look at and consider for auditing. But I highly recommend that you use auditing as a tool for good. not evil. If you have doubts about your third-party performances and or your team's performance, I'll help with that, but it shouldn't be the main catalyst and reason for it. It should be a contributing factor to the discussion. So with that, again, thank you for the time. Thank you for watching us on our TV channel on Roku, Google, Amazon, and Apple. If you're watching it on our simulcast, Facebook, LinkedIn, thank you for watching us there, and also Twitch if you're there. And then we'll be doing our podcast just after the show. We'll do a little recap of our discussion today, but we're also going to get into some of the tools related to auditing and how they function to give you the information that you need for SEO and SEM, and what your competitors are paying on ads and how much you think they're spending, and what's their indexing of their keywords compared to your keywords and how they rank against you and the total traffic they might be getting and so forth. There's tools that can help you with a lot of that. And we're going to go through them on the podcast as well. So with that, my name is Loren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time, and I look forward to talking to you next week.